I now turn on to the representative of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, Mr. James Hardcastle. You have the floor for your remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished delegates, especially those who are present and not in a parallel session. Healthy ecosystems reduce vulnerability to disaster risk. Resilient and healthy ecosystems are the foundation of resilient and healthy communities. Healthy ecosystems help people to lessen and cope with the impacts of disasters. As we know, the Hyogo Framework for Action, Priority 4, clearly states that ecosystem degradation not only harms and reduces the capacity of the environment to withstand hazards, but exacerbates human vulnerability. Environmental degradation reduces the capacity of ecosystems to meet communities' needs in food and water and to protect them from hazards through flood regulation, slope stabilization, coastal protection, affecting both directly dependent rural but also urban populations, and especially the most marginalized people. Fortunately, there is now sufficient evidence to indicate that resilient ecosystems not only increase societal resilience, but a process of ecosystem management and development planning that fundamentally involves interested and affected populations, enhances better governance and coping strategies in the face of risk and challenge at multiple scales. For example, while the northern atolls of the Republic of Marshall Islands continue to suffer lack of rain, and right now they're under presidential drought disaster status, the atolls that are faring better, like Namdrik Atoll, winner of the 2011 UN Equator Prize, where the focus of leadership and governance has been towards strengthening community resilience with strong provision for nature-based solutions to prevent erosion, avoid saline intrusion, and protect and shelter water resources, hand in hand with appropriate technology and infrastructure investments. We extend our support to the Marshall Islands at this time. We welcome the special focus of the fourth session of the Global Platform on the challenges facing small island developing states and recognize the innate resilience and innovation of island peoples in addressing disasters. In this light, it is concerning to note in the midterm review of the Hyogo Framework of Action that progress on Priority 4 was very limited. IUCN therefore welcomes the focus of this 2013 Global Platform on Resilient Planet, Resilient People, which brings Earth's natural resources to center stage for addressing disaster risk reduction. It is, however, just a truism, and it is accompanied by a sincere effort to tackle the underlying causes of vulnerability in communities and nations. We must collectively address the barriers and capacity for implementation and to move from advocacy to action. One such barrier is the perception that there is a choice to be made between ecosystem management and needed development, a false dichotomy that inhibits progress on this issue. Global studies such as the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment and the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity, the TEEB, indicate clearly that the maintenance of healthy and resilient ecosystems are a foundation and part of any strategy for sustainable development. Assessing ecosystem risk, such as through the IUCN Red List of Ecosystems, and investing in ecosystem management and restoration, and through effective and compatible development, ensures the maximum participation and benefit for people at a local level. Widely practiced, this approach can make a significant impact regionally and globally. Another barrier is the perception that the technology and means are lacking. There are many examples where successful approaches are being implemented. Here in Switzerland, management of protection forests is approximately 5 to 10 times less expensive than the construction and maintenance of alternative technical measures to reduce risks from rockfalls. From South Africa, there exists widely documented evidence that has proven outcomes of watershed restoration for job creation, business and skills development, water production, flood and fire risk management, and biodiversity conservation. And, Mr. Chairman, following the tragic Great Eastern Japan earthquake, we at IUCN are heartened to learn of Japan's announcement of the development of the Sanriku-Fuku Reconstruction National Park in a disaster-affected area. Japan will expand existing protected areas with the explicit purpose of restoring the coastal and marine ecosystem, together with the associated fisheries and livelihoods, in a traditional Satoyama-Satoumi style in cooperation with local communities. Furthermore, Japan will lead the way by convening the first Asia Parks Congress in the disaster-affected area of Sendai in November 2013, and help IUCN and our partners take these insights and findings to the once-in-10-year IUCN World Parks Congress being held in Sydney in November 2014. This is a real opportunity to introduce new thinking and new practice in the DRR field, from an ecosystem management perspective. So, Mr. Chairman, in summary, while these approaches are innovative, they are not necessarily complex or even expensive, and certainly not in relation to the costs of not addressing the risks once these materialize. The lessons that we have learned are that investing in nature-based solutions not only reduce risk through increased preparedness, but can also be a cost-effective and functional means to address restoration and recovery. Secondly, there is an opportunity for much wider engagement and dialogue between the authorities, agencies, and communities involved in ecosystem management and those responsible for disaster risk reduction. IUCN's knowledge on ecosystem vulnerability assessment and protected area governance and management can already be employed in this discussion. And finally, the Asia Parks Congress to be hosted by Sendai in Japan in November 2013 and the IUCN World Parks Congress in November 2014 to be hosted by Australia are twin occasions to integrate approaches and remove conceptual and practical barriers in advance of the process to renew and re-examine the Hyogo Framework of Action in the next 2 years. Mr. Chairman and delegates, thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the representative of IUCN for your speech.